Let you know, man, you are really encouraging me, motivating me, inspiring me. God is really using you to help me up.
What's going on, family? You guys are so amazing. This is Aos The Podcast. I'm Mr. Aosinspires, your host. I want to welcome each and every one of you to another episode, another great episode that I believe that is going to change and electrify people's lives. Listen, if you're new to the channel, you're new to our podcast, I want to welcome you today. This is our podcast. We drop every single week. We drop 3 times a week. We drop Mondays, 8 a.m., Wednesdays, 8 a.m., and Fridays, 8 a.m., like clockwork. Like, we really drop it. And you look on YouTube, you can see that it's already scheduled out in advance because we like to make sure that you guys are on a regiment. And, you know, we dropping them. So I thank you for being along on this journey with us. We lit on Instagram right now. I just got to drop that out there. We lit. I sat down with a team. As you know, we just hired a new team. So I sat down with the team. We talked, and we're projected to be at 15,000 by the end of this month. So my plan is to knock that out the park before that. We're at 10,000 currently right now on this episode, 10,400. And you guys have just been showing so much love. I mean, it's bananas. Listen, I want to say thank you. And we got a little update. We have some new stuff that's about to come in. They said it'll be in a few weeks. We ordered some new equipment, so we will be having listen, and I get it. I understand. Right? People would say, I'm gonna just rant for a quick second. People will always say, listen, it doesn't matter. And I get it. I just want to put out my 2 cents. People will say, just start with what you have. I get it. I understand. And I was actually, I told the first guest, Mr. Biggs, Eric White, I told him, I was like, cause he's going to be our first guest and he has an amazing story. And the way we have it scheduled out, we're going to do, 4 episodes in one shot. So one day, I'm going to record 4 episodes with the guests. And this is my plan. My plan is to roll it out so that every single Monday, I think that's what we're looking at. Every single Monday, we have the interviews with the guests. And then Wednesdays and Fridays, it'll just be me by myself. But that's what we want to do now. Now, we're going to start recording with the interviews, but I'm not putting those out until I have at least 2 months in the hole. Like, I want to be 2 months in advance, you know, like, I mean, this is how we operate with excellence at Aos The Podcast. Like, I want to make sure that when you see the first guest, I don't want to lose momentum. And the reason I'm saying this now, my team's like, don't say it on the podcast. I got to say it on the podcast. The reason I want to say it because I want you guys to hold us to accountability. Like, you said that you weren't going to drop no episodes and be, you know, scatterbrained, or you're not going to have no loose notes. You're going to have every single Monday an interview with a person. Somebody's going to be on the podcast. So that's what I want to do. But anyway, we got some equipment ordered, and it'll be here in a few weeks. So getting back to my statement, so many people would say, start with what you have. And I totally agree. And that's what I preach as well, especially when you haven't started, right? And I know I'm not being contradictory of myself. No, you start with what you have. If all you have is a phone, start with that. If all you have is one camera, start with that. However, my understanding and my ideology, you know, the way I'm viewing it, we have been producing high quality, right? And the truth be told, if you've been following Aosinspires for a while, you know we've been in the game for a while. We were I was producing faith-based community interviews in the beginning of a podcast era. Like, when I was doing a podcast before a podcast was a podcast, or that we know, right? Because Jim Rowe, he's been doing it for 15 years. So Joe Budden's been doing it for a while. They're the godfathers of podcasting. However, I was doing podcasting, and I'm gonna tell you this: I was doing interviews, and a lot of people won't share this, but I was doing interviews before COVID. Right. So I had, if you go on our YouTube page, Aos The Podcast right now, and you can look at a lot of older videos. You know, I got a lot of preaching clips up there too. And if you notice, about January 19th, that's when we started Aos The Podcast, and I began to take it seriously. But I was doing interviews way before, and I'm giving you a backdrop so that you can understand why I'm saying that I had to get the cameras. We were doing interviews, or I was doing interviews before COVID. So y'all know, like I was doing interviews before COVID and I was doing interviews during COVID. And it seems like during COVID, when it looks like things wasn't going to, slow down or go back to normal, people started doing Zoom interviews, right? And that's when the interview industry just boomed up. And I had been doing it. I was already doing Facebook Live interviews. Like I had some pretty big guests, but the thing about it is that, and I'm gonna check out this Friday's motivation, 5-minute motivation. I'm talking about, you want to start a podcast. That's gonna be the topic. You want to start a podcast. I'm gonna just give you a few tips, because the thing about it is I had a great podcast, but I didn't understand the marketing side of it. I didn't have the sauce. I didn't understand about consistency. It's a lot of stuff that I didn't understand, because I'm looking at it now. And I might change this. No, I ain't gonna change the episode. I'm gonna stay on the episode. I'm gonna rant for a little bit. Give me 2 more minutes. I'm already 6 minutes in. Give me 2 more minutes. But I didn't have the secret sauce that I have now. Like you can look at, and I was doing the same level of professionality when I was doing my faith-based podcast. But I'm looking at it now, when I'm doing the podcast now, we're based about relationship, entrepreneurship, and life, right? So when I switch up different topics, I need y'all to still rock with your boy. But I'm looking at the sauce that I have now, and I'm seeing the growth, right? Like I can really teach somebody because I know the sauce now. And it's really becoming a successful podcast. I can't say uber successful. It's not really. I'm going to say that, I'm not going to say successful podcast. I'm going to say a up and coming podcast, right? I mean, it's successful to a degree, right? But when we start really monetizing this thing and start making real money, then I would say, listen, we have a successful podcast. Right now, we're still learning. We're still gleaming, right? Shout out to my mentor, David Shan's Sleep is for Suckers, Social Proof Podcast. Shout out to my guy. But I got the secret sauce now, right? So if you look at Instagram, we're really intentional. We're really moving intentionally. And we are currently, like I said, we're currently at 10,400. Our team is projected at the end of the month, we're going to be at 15,000. Let's go, right? Let's go get it. Let's move. Keep on moving the bar. And just during this journey, I'm learning about SEOs. I'm learning about thumbnails, that your thumbnail should be large. It's just a lot that I'm learning along this journey. Check out for the masterclass that's coming out soon too. In a couple months, we'll be dropping that to you as well. And I'm actually, the reason it's being scheduled out, and I have not lost my topic because I was talking about the equipment. But the reason it's being scheduled out is because we're piecing this thing together. We want to give you the best content so that you can win. And we're actually implementing. Like, I'm not going to teach you how to get 1 million subscribers because we haven't got there yet. But I can teach you how to get to 1,000 subscribers on all platforms. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We almost hit 1,000 on TikTok too. TikTok. Also YouTube. I can teach you how to be consistent, how to remain consistent. And like I said, check out this Friday's 5 minutes motivation. You want to start a podcast, huh? We want to talk about it. But getting back to the equipment, I'm going to start an episode because I'm already 8 minutes in deep. But I felt as if that I've been producing such a high quality that I didn't want to produce a one angle podcast. I'm just being honest. I know Social Proof, over 300,000 subscribers now, making millions. This guy is making $100,000 a month from the podcast, doing amazing, right? However, and he started with one camera. However, I'm not saying that my beginning is deeper or better than his beginning. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is I started with one camera doing the interviews. I have already started that, but I want to show my followers and our listeners progression. Right. So when I start the interviews back again, he coming with one angle, and one angle is not a problem. So if you're a podcast that has one angle, that is not the issue. I'm talking about for us. I just want to show a different dynamics of excellence. And that's what I want to do. Like, that's what I want to do. That's why I held off for having guests, because I really wanted to show I just want to show this growth along this journey. That's me. But I'm telling you, if you have not started your podcast, start with what you have, right? Now, I'm being consistent by myself without the guests, right? Now I wouldn't mind doing a one camera view. I wouldn't mind. But like I said, just for me, this is how I feel. Some of y'all be like, yo, that's stupid. For me, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this podcast. Let's jump into this episode on today. I'm going to talk about something real fast. I want to talk about something that many people in relationship, they battle with. Like, why are you already see the thumbnail, you already see it, but why are you staying in a toxic relationship? Why? Right? Now, I'm going to break down a few layers. I ain't going to be long, but I'm going to break down a few layers as to why some people stay in toxic relationships. Right now, let me put a pin right here. And many of you will agree, many of you won't agree. And the reason some of y'all will agree because you're in this type of relationship now, but some of you won't agree because you're like, no, that's the recipe for disaster. Not really. I just want to put a pin right here. If you argue every single day, right, in your relationship, this does not mean that your relationship is toxic. I just got to throw that out there. Somebody needs that. If you argue every day, you guys bicker and argue every day, I'm gonna peel back those layers as well. If you argue every day in your relationship, that does not necessarily mean, in all cases, that your relationship is toxic. It doesn't mean that. It just means that y'all going through a season, a period where y'all arguing. You guys got to figure that out. Now, I want to share this with you. There is no relationship that don't argue. I promise you. I don't care how picture perfect the relationship looks. There is no relationship that does not argue. Now, you have different levels of arguments. You have different levels of arguing, right? But stop letting these people fool you, make you think they paint this picture and you're looking at that picture like, oh man, they got a perfect relationship. No, they don't. You don't know what she's saying behind closed doors. You don't know what he doing behind closed doors. You just don't know. So stop. And this is a big one too. This is a big one for all the ladies. Stop looking on Instagram and seeing these picture perfect relationships. And now you begin to compare your relationship with their relationship, and your relationship keeps on hitting speed bumps along the way. Why? Because you're trying to compare your relationship with their. Fellas, y'all do the same thing. Like, stop comparing it. Like, you stay in your relationship. It's okay that if you want to glean from them and you want to take notes and you admire them, that's cool in the game. But stay in your lane. Right? You don't know. This is what I tell people all the time. Y'all seen these pictures on Facebook where the picture in the front looks picture perfect. They're married, they're happy, it looks happy, but then when you look at the picture that they take from behind them, the wife may have a bloody napkin and the man may have a knife in his hand. Like, you don't know what angle you're looking at, but you're looking at one angle that looks like this is a picture perfect relationship, and no relationship is picture perfect. I promise you, every single relationship, even Barack Obama, salute, which you look at their relationship, you're like, oh, they got a dope relationship, and they probably do have a dope relationship. However, there are issues in their relationship as well. That's just the facts. But let's rewind real fast. I just got to ask that question. Why do you stay in a toxic relationship knowing that it's toxic? It's toxic for your health. It's toxic for your mental. It's toxic for your financial status. Let's go. Listen, let's dive deep. Let's start right there. So I had a conversation with somebody today, and listening to the couples, one of the persons in the relationship loves to spend money like crazy. The other one is really frugal. It's like, I'm a penny pinch this thing here. Nah, we ain't going out to eat today. We're going to get something from the grocery store matter of fact, we're going to go to the grocery store and make some spaghetti and make it stretch for the whole week or for at least till Wednesday. And then Friday we'll go out. But so this is what I tell couples, and this can lead to a toxic relationship because we don't talk about the upfront questions. We don't talk about stuff like this in the beginning of the relationship. And I think that this is why many relationships don't work, because the things that you need to talk about, you don't talk about, and the things that you don't really need to talk about just yet, you talk about, right? So now already in the first 50 minutes, or I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, the first 3 hours, you got comfortable in this date. right? This is like the first to second date. Now you already talking about sex and positions and what you like and what you don't like. We don't need to be talking about that right now. I'm gonna tell you this: sex is very important, but on the first three, I'm gonna say the first 2 months. Like if you're now, it all depends on what kind of relationship you're trying to work with. If you're trying to work with a relationship that you're just trying to get a cuddy buddy, then okay, cool. You talk about it on the first date. It is what it is. You do what you do. You do what you feel comfortable with. But if you're trying to make this a long-lasting relationship, a marriage, build a family, build a dynasty, build an empire, like sex shouldn't be talked about in at least the first month, right? It depends on the progression of the relationship. But for what? Like in my opinion, sex is a distraction if you're talking about that in the first 3 to 4 weeks. That's a distraction. Like, I can't really get to know you better. And I'm going to give you a quick breakdown real fast. I'm going to peel back this layer. When you involve sex in the first 3 to 4 weeks or even month of the relationship, what happens is when they talk a good sex game, like I do this and I love to do this and I don't mind doing this, now that becomes cluttered in your mind. You begin to overlook all the signs and all the red flags. You overlook it. Why? Because you nasty. Let's be all the way honest. They talking this nasty talk that you like, right? And this is speaking to you, this nasty talk. So, but you begin to overlook all the red flags, all the signs. It's like, yo, run from this relationship. You overlook it. Why? Because they talking good sexually. I truly believe that. I believe that the sex talk should wait. Because this is the thing. If you don't wait for the sex talk, this is what will happen. You would get so engulfed into the sex talk that any other real conversation that needs to be had will be overlooked, overtalked, and stepped on and never thought about and forgot about. Period. I'm going to forget about it. Why? Because, and this is the thing. Many people that's in a relationship, even if you're not getting into this relationship for sex, that can still be a deterrent. That could still throw you off. You may say, listen, I really want to build with this person, but you can have a high sex drive, right? And they start talking about sex, and then one thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, bam, we're in a situation that we really don't want to be in, but we opened this door in the beginning and didn't get a chance to know each other. Now we done had sex, and sex is amazing, right? So when the sex is amazing, and this I'm a transition too, because this works the same way with finances. The sex is amazing. So now I begin to overlook all of the red flags. I begin to look all over the things that I have on my list, men and women. I begin to overlook everything that I have on my list and saying I will not deal with. They got it. But the sex is just dope. But let's transition real fast. Even the financial aspect of it. Most guys, right? And women too. Women that have money and the guys that have money, generally, most women want guys that have money, right? If they have money, they want a guy that have money, right? A guy, in most cases, if he has money, he would deal with a woman that doesn't have money. She has to bring other things to the table, but he'll deal with her if she doesn't have money, right? But the thing about the financial aspect, men and women alike love to use their money to leverage, not to buy your love, not to buy your affection, but I want us to have a good time. And that's another thing too from going out, especially because I knew my buddy. He loved when he went on dates and he liked the girl. He would drop a bag. I mean, like drop a real bag, right? I mean, I'm talking about in gifts, trips, all the above. Like drop a real bag. I ain't talking about a $200, $300. No. I'm talking about 1,000. Couple thousand on trips, bags, like just she come home and he done got a Louis bag delivered to her house, right? I mean, that's what it is, right? But, and rightfully so, we want to enjoy ourselves financially. However, when the gifts are pouring in too hard, this is the biggest thing. You can overlook the red flags when the finances is really good. If y'all going out to eat to great restaurants and he ain't anything, let's just swipe my card. He got it or she got it. You will overlook certain things. Not, watch this. This is crazy. Not intentionally. What's crazy and what's critical, you will overlook certain things, not intentionally, but subconsciously. Why? Because we're not having the right conversations in the beginning. Like, I mean, you met a person and you're like, listen, I really like this person. I want to build with this person. So you need to really build. Like, don't build sexually. Don't build financially. build. Like ask this person, like really dig deep. And this is what you know what, I got a new book and it's not going to drop this year. But I have another book that's going to drop this year. But my relationship book is not dropping this year. It's a dope book, dope book. It's entitled "You Can't Marry Destiny: Dating History." Bars. I can't wait. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be dope. But I want to write a list in that book of questions that you need to ask this person way before you start talking about sex, right? Like I need to know some things about you that you would tell me, right? And I'm gonna tell you this. This is a big one. You will learn a person two ways. You will learn by what they tell you, and you will learn by what they do. That's a big one for me. Like somebody can tell you something all day long of who they are, how they are, what they like to do, or how they will react to certain situations, but their actions will tell it all. Their actions will tell it all. But I really want to go back and just rewind real fast and ask the question one more time. Why are you staying in a toxic relationship? I will answer that for you. Most people that are in toxic relationships stay in that toxic relationship. Why? Because there's something good in that relationship. Don't let nobody fool you at all. Just because they're in a toxic relationship does not mean that everything in that relationship is toxic. I met a young lady a couple of days ago, and when she just had, relationship issues with the guy, and she said she loved her guy, he loves her, but there's something that happened in the relationship, and this is the thing. When people come to me and ask for relationship advice or ask for what should I do in this situation, everybody, man and woman that I've experienced, is going to paint themselves to be in the best light. Always. However, I want to tell every single coach out there, if you are a psychiatrist or you are a life coach or you are a relationship coach, I'm not a relationship coach, but I got some dope advice. But if you are a person that people come to like me and ask for advice and ask for guidance, this is the key thing. Listen. They would tell them themselves. Right? Because most people are so quick to just jump and give advice, especially, if you have a passion for it and you think that you see the issue. No, just let them talk. And what happened was she was talking and I'm listening. I'm just listening and I'm already evaluating what she's telling me. I already know what I want to say. However, I just kept on listening. And then when she kept on talking, I guess she was comfortable. Then she said this, got to be honest, I'm toxic too. There we go. Bingo. Hit it on the nail. So eventually what happened is they are telling themselves every single time. They're telling themselves. But I don't know where I was going with that one. I lost my train of thought. I almost had it, but I lost it. But I just got to ask the question, why do you stay in a toxic situation knowing that it's toxic? Right? And I told you, I listed a few things: toxic emotionally, toxic financially, toxic mentally, toxic your health wise. It's toxic for your health, right? Your health is decreasing. I'm going to date myself real fast. I'm an 80s baby. Y'all remember the ones that can rock with me. Y'all remember, and if you remember, leave it in the comments for me real fast. You remember good times when JJ was dating this one girl. I forgot her name. I can't even remember what she looks like. But he was dating this one girl. But while he was dating, I think her parents were uppity and rich or something like that. JJ was in the ghetto. But every time, when he met her and they would date and go on dates and stuff like that, it seems as if he had this stomach virus or stomach ache or stomach pain. Right? Why? Because he was dealing with her. Many of you are in toxic relationships and people are making you physically sick. Not just like you make me sick, you get on my nerves. No. They're making you physically sick. And you're staying in that situation. Why? Many people stay in toxic situations and toxic relationships. Why? Because like I said before, number one, everything about that relationship isn't toxic. Let's keep that and let's put that on the table. Everything about the relationship is not toxic. The second thing is this relationship is comfortable for me. Like I know them, they know me, they know how I act, I know how they will act, right? And it's crazy because many people will adapt to a toxic relationship. Instead of many people, this is real talk, right? This is a bar. Many people don't have what it takes inside of them to walk away from a toxic relationship, right? I mean, as long as you're not beating me up, as long as it's not toxic from the angle where I'm being physically abused, right? And I'm not being too much verbally abused that I can stand, right? That's the mindset of some people that's in toxic relationships. Like, as long as I'm not, over the edge and it's unbearable, I deal with it. And that's the mindset of many people that's in toxic relationships. Like, they cool. Like, we have some good moments, right? And this thing, in toxic relationships, you will have some amazing moments. It doesn't mean that everything about the relationship is bad. It's not. It's pretty dope, right? But there's some toxicity, right? And this is a big thing. You have levels to this toxicity. I'm gonna say something to you guys and I'm out of here. But there's some levels to the toxicity, right? You have some toxic that's toxic, but it's just attitude issues. Or you have some toxic where it's just need some growth, right? Some maturity, need to experience life a little bit more. Right? We got into this relationship too early in life. Like, we got in this relationship when we were 18 years old. We're now 23 years old, but it's time to grow up, right? Responsibility. It's just certain different types of toxicities, right? But the major thing is when there are no happy moments in this relationship, right? I mean, you choose when you decide to leave, when you think that it's time for you to leave. But a really toxic relationship is when we're fist fighting. Like, like you putting your hands on each other, right? Or it seems as if this relationship is just pinning me against the corner. This relationship is not going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere. I hate it here, right? Many people, I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we're here. Many of y'all use words that do not fit your situation, but it fits your emotion, not your situation. Be careful. That was one of the advice that I gave her, because she was like, she had left him a couple months back, but she didn't mess with nobody else, right? She said she left him. This is the girl that I told you that she said she was toxic. She left him for a while, and but the reason she left, not for another relationship, she said she left because she had to stay focused on school, and she was getting her master's degree. It was some things that she was putting together as far as educational wise and family wise. But she said she was not entertaining or talking to nobody else in the relationship. You left, but I was sharing with her, in his mind, you left for another brother. I don't care how, because think about this. I was sharing with her how we think as men. How can a relationship that I think that is going well, we're already talking about marriage, we're talking about children, we're talking about building together, buying a house together. He already has a house. He has a house that he's purchased. Right? But they were talking about buying a house together. The relationship was going great. Then all out of the blue, you're like, listen, I need a break. Let me step away real fast. Nothing against you. I just need to take a break. Now they're back together in a sense, right? And I'm going to tell you this. In a sense, they're back together. But she said that she can be a little toxic. Pretty sure he can be a little toxic too. I don't know. We didn't dive that deep in about him. But this is the thing. She was saying that he asked her, because you got to remember, in his mind, she left for another guy. Even though you said you left because you wanted to stay focused on school. It's cool in the game. But in our minds, we're creatures of habits. So once you break that pattern, our antennas is up. Like, what's going on? What's up? Right? So she said that he asked her recently, are we together? And she said no. This is the rule number one in every single toxic relationship or any relationship. State how you feel and don't leave nothing on the back burner. Like, be honest. Talk about how you really feel. Like, if you want to be with this person, let them know. Don't hold back your feelings. Be honest up front. Because, and I told her this, and I'm done with this situation. I told her this. I said, you need to let him know how you really, because she said she want to be with him. I said, you need to let him know how you really feel. Because what's going to happen is you're telling him that you're not together. But if he finds another situation, meaning another woman, I'm not saying he's going to get in a relationship in the next 2 weeks, a month. You don't know. But naturally, it's not going to happen like that. But if he finds another potential Oh, he out of there with the quickness. So I tell people this all the time. In relationships, be honest, upfront. State how you really feel. And, I talked about this last episode. That's a go-to. You're insecure. And that's one thing she's saying too. He's insecure. Of course he's going to be insecure. Out the blue, you said that we need a break. Now you're coming back a few months later? Come on. Yeah, of course. I'm going to feel a certain type of way. I may not be insecure, but I'm going to feel a certain type of way. My antennas is jumping. And I think that a lot of, and I'm going to tell you this, not being ADHD, but she said that bothered her because how he felt, or that really bothered her how he's acting. How do you expect the brother to act when you say, nah, we don't have no label right now? How do you expect, but you want to be with him? Like, stop playing these mind games. Like, grow up, if you will. Something ain't right. Like, what are we doing here? Right? You're coming over. We're going on dates. It was just so many layers to peel back. But I told her, I said that you need to be honest with him and let him know how you really feel. Don't play this game. Many people, this is another leader to toxic relationships. Many people play games. Like, you want to say how you really feel, but you don't want to say how you feel because you don't want to seem vulnerable. You don't want to seem like you're the first one to give in. Be the first one to give in. Period. Be the first one to express your feelings. Let them know how you feel. Because if you don't let them know how you feel, they would never know. They're not psychics. So what are we doing? Right? So do you want to be together or do you not want to be together? That's something to think about. I just want to help all the toxic relationships out there. And a big one for toxic relationships, if you know that this is a person that we got a toxic situation going on, but this is a person I really want to be with. Like, I really love them. They hold me down in tight spaces or tight jams, right? A lot of toxic relationships that are toxic, they are loyal to each other, but they're just toxic, right? They just have issues. But what I would suggest, let the smoke clear. You both sit down and talk about where you want this relationship to go, where you want the growth in the relationship to be, and just be honest. Let them know how you really feel. Put it all on the table. Then make a conscious and educated and wise decision after everything's been laid out on the table. Stop playing the games. Toxicity does not look good on none of y'all. I love you guys to life. I'm Mr. Aos Inspires. This is Aos the Podcast. Listen, family, I'll holler at y'all next week. Let's go.